What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Trying Casually Games, and today we're doing something a little different. Today we're doing the Mothman Deckteck with Chris from One More Game. As always, we
Hey,
have Octavia Scratch down at the bottom.
hi guys.
I will pass over to you, Chris. Is there anything that you want to plug and talk about?
Biggest thing is my name is Chris, OneMoreGameMTG. I am hosting a competitive Pauper Commander tournament on April 27th at noon. Registration is at my website, omgmtg.com. First place is $200, and all the proceeds go to Extra Life, which is a charity to help the hospitals that are nearby. So it's basically you get to play with some Pauper Commander. Mox fields allowed, architects allowed, proxies are allowed. It's basically to get everyone together, play some fun, get some great cash prizes, and also to donate to charity on top of it. So it's a wins across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we were working on the Wise Mothman deck. This is the Soul Tie Fallout Precon. So we are taking this and talking about this and upgrading this. So I know Chris wanted to take this into another direction, but first we'll talk about the Wise Mothman. So the Wise Mothman is one in Soul Tie, or black, green, and blue. He's a legendary creature, insect mutant, flying, and whenever the Wise Mothman enters the battlefield or attacks, each player gets a rad counter. Whenever one or more non-land cards are milled, put a 1/1 counter on each up to target creatures, where X is the number of non-land cards milled that way. So if you mill three non-land cards, if you have three creatures, they each get 1+1/+1 counter. But then we will break it to the other face commander, or the
The alternate commander.
yeah, the alternate commander, and that's actually who Chris took the deck in the direction. Let me find that real fast.
Yeah, so the secondary commander, it's more so the cards I added don't really have a massive help in addition to that commander itself. The more so the reason why I like the master, the additional option for the commander, is I think that potentially gets you a lot more work overall because with the rad counters you are milling, and with the master it allows you to bring back a creature from the bin to the battlefield from any graveyard. So like that could potentially get some huge hits off of your deck or an opponent's deck. Now, the things that I said we'll see later on in the video is the things that I have added are more in conjunction with the actual counter synergies themselves. But I still feel that at the helm, the Wise Man really isn't the hugest thing of a massive win. In theory, based upon the cards I have added, I definitely would want to keep the the Wise Mothman at the helm, but try to focus more so on the difference of getting things in the bin to allow myself to use the secondary commander. But even if I said I were to build this on my own as a fresh start, I definitely would go in the direction of using the master as the main focus of the deck, just because the potential power and the upside there really isn't any downside. Whereas with the Mothman, yeah, there's some good counter synergies in there, but if you mill potentially with these rad counters, you're not getting the option of every single time getting something of value, or you're going to hit those rad counters to actually implement the damage to bring itself down. And I think with the rad counters, they're a good just swing in addition, whereas they aren't really the main focus of a winning strategy. So I feel like they are good to have in the deck, but I think they're just a little icing on the cake just to say, hey, oh, it also does this, and it really gives a good flavor to Fallout itself. Whereas in other commander options where things are in the bin, you're using the versatility of the value of those cards themselves to win you the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this is the first time you've ever heard of rad or radiation, this is what it is. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, if you have any rad counters, mill that many cards. For each non-land card milled that way, you will lose one life and a rad counter. So this basically is why the Mothman says non-land. It's because the radiation wants non-land. So again, mutant creature. Octavia, are you familiar with the lore behind the Mothman?
The Mothman is a cryptid from West Virginia, I believe, and
Is
it
that
is
that's 76?
it's 76,
Yeah.
and it is just for the first little bit of the game. It wasn't actually anything that anyone knew anything about. It would just appear randomly behind you. Glowing red eyes. It would always be completely black, and it would just kind of freak you out and then disappear. And then there's a whole quest line attached to it where you learn more about it and kind of go through and do get some rewards from it and learn more about it. It's one of the few enemies that are actually really creepy in Fallout.
Now and then, so the master is actually the big bad of Fallout 1. I know that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of strange, or not strange. I think it's kind of interesting that they made a character in Fallout 76 the front commander and the big bad just in the like in the 99. Frank
I mean, you
Kerrigan,
put
wasn't he the big bad in two?
two.
Yep. So yeah, that's also kind of funny.
This deck has a lot of the old school big bad mutants. The more new school stuff came in the other deck with Caesar.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because that's
Yeah.
like 3 and 4, right?
Yeah, it has like Elder Maxim, who is in three through four or 3 through 5.
Yep, yep. And then Dogmeat has a lot of New Vegas. Well, a bunch of them have New Vegas in them, but
But I think
Ve-
that big New Vegas is the
Vegas
focus of that one.
Yeah, New Vegas is the focus of Dog Meat.
yeah. Surprisingly, for New Vegas got a lot of love in this set.
It did. It got it got a large amount of cards, more than I expected actually.
I think that's because I said that the hype behind the game when it came out, like that's even like what really like first. Like I said, like all growing, up, I only had the PlayStation. I never had an Xbox or anything like that. And when New Vegas came out, like that's when I really started like, oh, Fallout's kind of neat. And like I think that like someone who really doesn't play it or anything like that, like I think that's the reason why the Fallout Vegas was like a bigger push, just because like I think at the time of release, I think that's what really like was big in me
Well,
in my perspective anyway. You know.
I mean, it was 3 and then New Vegas. New Vegas has a special place in a lot of people's hearts. It is one of the better, I don't want to say better written, but yeah, one of the better written
Well,
Fallout.
it's Fallout style, but not by Fallout people.
Right.
So it's an interesting take. So they think a little bit outside the box. It's
It's a little
obsidian,
more.
and you
It's a
can
little
make
more.
a literal caveman.
Yep.
Because like if you have very low intelligent, you'll the way you answer questions will be different. Like,
That actually happens in 1 and 2 as well.
oh really? So they're like recurring that.
In 1 and 2, if your intelligence is lower than 5, you cannot form complete sentences, and there are parts of the game that are completely locked out because you are too stupid.
That's a
Yeah, it's very funny. But yeah, without further ado, we will kick it off. Master of Transcendent. So one and also Sultai. When he enters the battlefield, you get 2 rad counters, and then so you can tap him and put target creature in a graveyard that was milled this turn onto the battlefield under your control. So that is basically just a get. You don't lose control of it.
Correct.
yeah. That's the reason why I really like the card itself. Is like you just get it.
I mean, that seems pretty strong. Hard on spell table, but very strong. And also it doesn't matter whose graveyard. So you're just waiting
Correct.
until
A graveyard.
yeah, somebody targets this dude and tries to kill it, and then you just pick the scariest creature in the graveyard.
Well,
Well, it does
it
say
only
milled this turn.
it must be milled this turn, so
Yeah.
With the amount of like mill synergies, like literally look at Muldrotha. The way of getting things into your own bin are so
Yeah,
easily
Hermit
effective.
Druid.
And then you have the options of ever like milling in general in Sultai is already phenomenal. So it's just a cakewalk to allow yourself to you can mill like 10 to 20 cards in a very easy given turn, and then you untap cards that are out there. You can get multiple creatures in a single turn.
yeah, I was gonna say you want some fun with this is yeah, you put a Hermit Druid in, you could mill 30, 40 cards in a turn and just
Easily.
absolutely power this out.
Is there anything notables that you guys want to talk about? Tireless Tracker, very good reprint.
There's Frank, like we were saying earlier,
Frank
Frank
Horrigan.
Horrigan. I think he himself is just a very good card. And it does cost 7 CMC, but again, you can get that out it's in Golgari. Like, there's zero issue with that. And
yeah.
I think there's a lot of different synergies, even though if it is like more often than not, people think. In fact, there are still other directions you can go with proliferating twice.
Yep.
So that alone, like maybe that should be the commander you make for the rad counters. Like, just do again. It's tough without having blue in there for proliferate. But even aside, like that's huge with proliferate. It's doing it twice in a turn. Well, let me see. There's the land that does it. The Tomb of something. Where is it? Type.
Also, Lumbering Mega Sloth is going up in price right now, almost $10.
I was gonna say it's showing up in some legacy play.
There's Hall of the Bandit Lord. It's ETB's tap, but you tap it, pay 3 life, add 1 mana to your mana pool. But when you do it, target creature gains haste. So you could easily use that as one of your mana. and then proliferate 4 times in a single turn, which is pretty much at that point a massive change.
Yes.
Do you know the story of Frank Corrigan? I
No.
know briefly that like NUS basically mutated him, but other than that, I don't know anything else.
He is one of the first super mutants, and I believe when you fight him in the end, he like gets cut in half, and then you have to keep fighting him because he doesn't die. Like he's kind of a beast.
Oh, so he's the it's the Monty Python skit where you have to keep killing the knight.
Yeah, he is. If I remember correctly, you had to kill him several times.
Which also
he
can
just-
go along with the storyline because basically you kill the one, but it just keeps growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, he keeps coming back and he keeps dying. Like he just
N-
keeps coming back.
Now, Harold and Bob seem like a very, very, very cool card, but maybe not for this deck.
Yeah, it's not in this deck. It's not for this deck. That's like some cards like Harold. Like I
I
feel like
love Harold and Bob.
it's cool, just like not here.
Now-
One of my favorite cards in this deck that is absolutely horrible, but I love it, is Lily, Raging Grandma.
Yeah, that's just cool looking.
She is a lot of fun, both in game and as the card. I wish it was a little better.
Yeah.
What is she in the game? Is she a companion?
She is a companion you can get. She is a senile super mutant, specifically a Nightkin, which are the ones that have the ability to stealth. And basically she treats you like this, like her grandchild, and just absolutely goes ape shit if
Instead
anyone
of
tries to hurt
vigilance, you
you.
should have had soulbound. Both of you guys have hexproof.
It That would have been amazing for her.
Because that would make like vigilance does not make sense hearing what that does.
No, vigilance doesn't really make a lot of sense. Soulbound would have been good, but
Oh, so she's a Nightkin ambusher.
she is a Nightkin ambusher.
I don't expect them to bring back soulbound in
No,
a non-master set.
Lord,
Period.
no.
Also, they started in New Vegas, did they not? Or were they of the other stuff?
Nightkin were in 3 and 4, and well, don't remember. Nightkin are in 2.
Jason Bright, I believe, is Fallout 76 or New Vegas. I mean,
Nightkin are found in the game, concentrated in the Cathedral and Los Angeles Vault in Fallout 1.
oh dang.
They have been in since Fallout 1. I was like, I know they're older than.
I really like the Tato Farmer. He's a very good card.
Yes.
Seen a lot of play.
Yeah, it's seeing some real nice play.
Yep. I love the art on Hancock. Hancock is very cool. I love him in the games.
Hancock's a great character. I wish his card was better.
Yeah, I do wish it was a little bit better. The Undying is kind of nice though.
And that's so like things like that. Like that's the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of these sets because like you're so tied to what these characters do and the level of power of which that they contain, and then they have to obviously try to make a balance in the actual card game because you don't want to make this one card super OP and not be the lead of the deck or even anything of the nature of itself. But again, the problem is like we all know like there's the grandma or they're just like it's missing something. And it's one of those double-edged swords. Like, obviously, it's not right to like not do proper justice for this character, but you don't want to make it crazy OP where that's the only thing people want to get.
One card I do like for Commander specifically, and like its power level, is the Feral Ghoul. It and a
Yeah, the Ghoul's very good.
It and a Gravecrawler and a Sack Outlet are just beautiful because you can give it 100 +1/+1 counters and then kill everyone with radiation that turn.
Yeah, the Ghoul, I think it's pretty awesome that it has like that. That can be a finisher right there if you set it up properly.
Yep.
I also really like Watchful Radstag.
I'm sure that one's seeing play somewhere.
Well, so it's evolve, and then it just makes a copy, and then you just evolve that one, and then it just makes a copy. So it's like it's Scoot Swarm, but like evolve.
Yeah.
Seems very crazy if you can pop it off consistently. Marcus seems very cool. I don't know who he is lore wise. Same thing with Rawl. This seems very strong in a +1 counters deck like this. You just give your stuff Ward 1.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good +1/+1 counter synergy. There's a lot of add synergy.
And
A lot of
strong, giving you life instead of losing life from radiation. Very strong.
I have strong actually is one of the pieces in my deck that I will search for,
Yeah.
that I will try to pull out from my radiation deck.
Piper Wright. I don't know if she's good for this deck, but
Amazing in a
I do
clue
like
deck.
her.
Yes, she is amazing in clue deck, not this deck.
Yeah, yeah. So I do believe that she will be one of like her and strength bobblehead will be the two I take out and put in the energy deck. I feel like
Hmm.
they just sometimes they slam the deck or a creature into a deck because they needed to fill it where they could have just swapped a couple pieces. Like this guy fits in this deck a little bit better. They could have just like this one's clearly for the a clue deck
Yeah,
or a artifact deck.
yeah, they had nowhere to put the character,
And that's yeah.
which unfortunate, but is sometimes something that happens in this kind of set.
I really like Young Death Claws again. So since I'm putting these cards into my Mimeoplasm deck, I'm just thinking about the Mimeoplasm becoming a Young Death Claws, and then each thing in my graveyard having Scavenge,
Oh yeah.
so like I can just make my Mimeoplasm bigger and bigger and bigger.
In terms of other reprints, I mean, all of the talismans. I'm so glad that they are finally reprinting the talisman in almost
Yep.
every
That's
deck.
one of those
It
ones
was
that
needed. I remember when those were like $15 each. It was
just so dumb.
unbearable.
There was no reason for that, like at
No,
all.
no.
We will go into the artifacts. 2 seconds. I mean, Soul Ring, really good. I love that they're doing different arts in the Soul Rings. Contagion
I
class, great reprint.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was a contagion engine, not a clasp, but
Yeah, but again, that would have
That's
been
fair.
money.
Well, that's like black market. Should have been black market connections
black
in my
market should have
opinion.
been black market connections. It should have.
Yep. Arcane Signet, love that you can get a bunch of different reprints. I love again that we talking about the talismans. I love that they are all the magazines. Really love them.
Like every single one of them should just straight up be all the talismans of the colors and all of the signets, just period. Like even if like you're gonna take them out and put them in, every single deck, if you have any of the colors, put the signet, put the talisman, because we got to get those things down to like literal pennies.
Yeah.
Because even if like say we have all five, all in this case all six signets and talisman in this deck, we probably wouldn't use every single one of them,
Oh God, no.
but it would still allow like as a basic you like player of the game, signets and talismans are like the first things we go for. So as a new player buying this deck, they're gonna be like, oh, that's what these are. They have all three, so why do they have all three? And then I'll be like, okay, this is a good card. And then at that point, when they start building other decks, they're gonna say, oh, that deck had all of them, so obviously I should put that in my next deck, and then just continue from there. That
Yeah,
and the
I do
battle
like
bond
them.
lands.
They're doing that more so than they have been as they move
Hmm.
more into an accessibility market space as opposed to a collector's market space.
Yes, it is.
So that is really good. Power Fist, it's like Bone Sabers from the Warhammer deck. Nuka Cola Launcher. I'm not super hype on this card.
When I built this, I built my entire deck around rad counters specifically.
Yep.
I took out basically everything that wasn't rad counters.
Strength Bobblehead. Again, I love the bobbleheads if you have more than one of them. This deck only has one of them. So if you were going to put, say, more than two, I would say keep them in there, slam them in there. So like in my energy deck, I actually took out the talismans to run the bobbleheads because like
Okay.
the talismans, yes, they're go out on turn two, but the bobbleheads I can actually tap them for mana or do their abilities, and the more I have of them, I can just recur them and do extra things. Yeah, so I really like these. If you have more than one. And then we have a vehicle in this deck. It does put aliens and 1/1 counters on them. So it kind of does the thing that this deck kind of wants to do. I think this one is a thing that they would just kind of fit an alien or a thing from Fallout. I guess all of the Fallouts have aliens in them, really.
They all have a running theme of aliens. This particular recon craft is from New Vegas, but only if you took the weird wasteland perk.
Oh, you have to make it. You have to like trigger it.
Yeah, there is a perk you could take called Weird Wasteland, which says strange things just happen to you, and it made a whole bunch of random events proc that you couldn't get any other way. One of them being an alien craft comes down and you actually fight the aliens. Like they come out and they try to.
That's funny.
And then we'll go on into enchantments. I have Vault 12. I don't know the lore behind this one, or the game behind it. Vault Tech lied, so I'm guessing they got mutated.
Vault-Tec 112 was the.
I think this is the one that they didn't seal. They wanted them to get mutated.
I believe this was the Super Mutant Vault, or not the Super Mutant Vault, the one that they did specifically want irradiated.
Yeah, I don't know anything other than that.
It was their control group.
I know the Forced Evolution one is the one that the Master was making his things in, where they did the Forced Evolution virus.
This is the FEV.
Yep. It's really good. It's kind of cool. Goes in with the Master's theme. Gain control of a non-mutant, make it a mutant. I really like it. This one gains 3 rad counters. Does everything the deck wants to do. Hardened Scales, great reprint, great art. Branching Evolution was very expensive for a time. Glad to see it reprinted again.
Yes.
Inexorable Tide.
Same with the Inexorable Tide and Guardian Project.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and I also really love the art of Guardian Project. Very good. Saying Franity, I love this card. I wish it did a little more. In a mill deck, it's great. Or in this deck, it's great.
It has mill. It is amazing.
Yeah, and I believe all of the decks have an enchantment like this where you're choosing Brotherhood or Enclave, not necessarily Brotherhood and Enclave specifically, but making a choice, like Cons and Dragons of that.
Yes, they reprinted, or I guess they made new enchantments that are modular.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one is when it enters the battlefield, you're going to choose Brotherhood or Enclave. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent draws a card. You draw a card for each card drawn this way. So you will draw 4, and everybody draws 1. Or Enclave, whenever a player attacks you with 1 or more creatures, that player gets twice that many rad counters.
It was you actually draw 3 cards off of Brotherhood, not 4.
Oh yes, because you technically don't draw a card.
You do not draw any cards. Your opponents draw cards, and then you draw 1 for each opponent.
And we'll go over into sorceries. So you gotta love the rampant growth of Farseek. Personally, I love the 2-drop mana rocks. Nature's Lore, 3 visits, all of them. Nuclear Fallout, technically a 2-drop. You'll never cast for 2. I really like this card.
The Nuclear Fallout?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's very good. It's
what's the other one where you pay life that does a similar effect?
Toxic Deluge.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
It is a very efficient Toxic Deluge. I very much like it.
Yep. Cultivate, again, I love it. I believe that's also the grandma.
Cultivate? No, that is not Lily. But it is
Strong.
I believe that's Strong.
It's hard to tell. Harmonize. I love this art. It's a good card. Casualties of the War. I love it. Super modular. Love the art. Art's hot.
Love the art. Wish it was better.
Yeah.
Find and Finality. It's okay.
Reasonable. Let's do
Find Finality. I like.
It's one of those. Yeah, it's like not bad, but it's not like I want this so badly.
I mean, I like the find half.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, I'll take a 2 mana reanimate any day.
All right, and then we'll go to the instance. Biomass Mutation. Creatures you control have a base power and toughness XX until end of turn. I think this is going to be really good.
I think that is one of the most trap cards ever.
I want it to be good, and it absolutely isn't.
It just never is good because you have to have build enough creatures on the board. It's like trying to be creator of Behemoth.
Oh, and it's also base power, not like gain X1 counters.
Correct. It's always been one of those cards they include in decks that just does like because on the first forefront of it all, you're like, oh, this is such a cool card. I can make everything really big. And then you go, wait a minute, I got to pay 8 mana to make a couple of things a 6/6. Like nice.
No.
Like I get the whole they're trying to do it with the +1/+1 counters. They're trying to like, hey, your 1/1 that became a 5/5 counters now can be a 10/10, like
15, yeah,
or 15, whatever. Like, yeah, but you gotta dump so much mana into this and have so much prep for one single card.
Yeah, and also games are getting so fast, but by turn like 4 and 5 and 6, they're almost ending.
Yeah, they're just not getting to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contaminated Drink. I really like this card. It's super modular. You can choose how many cards you want.
It's a it's a pretty solid draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the
In,
Like,
rats
in a
aren't
mill
gonna
deck,
really.
yeah, it does the thing you
it's a
want.
draw that fuels self mill. It's great.
Inspiring Call could be a gotcha. Also, draw card.
Yeah,
Yep.
the call's always a fun. I like the call a lot in a lot of the decks I've played.
Mutational Advantage. I really like this card. Permanents that I
Yeah,
control
those
with
are good.
counters on them gain
It's the
hexproof
right
and
color too.
indestructible.
Being in Simic, I kind of wish it was mono green
I
personally.
Yeah, if it was mono green, it'd be even better.
Like even
Yeah,
if it was like
fair.
one green, if it was like one green green, like it makes it
Mhm.
more like controlled. Like I have to get double green instead of like what you know what I'm saying. But like it now forces it to be in a Simic deck, which already again Simic has very good counter synergies. But I would prefer to give the open door to like I can play it in these other decks. Like
Yeah. I also feel like the proliferate is just kind of stapled on there. I feel like it wasn't even necessary. Like I
Yeah.
just read it after the fact. Yeah, this card does a lot. This card is very good. Putrefy, I really like it. I love the art.
Putrefy is great.
Radstorm,
Atomized.
very good.
Radstorm, I'm so glad they printed Storm again.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Even
so
if it's
broken,
just
but
the
so
one
much fun.
card.
Atomize, always good. Cool land count now. Nesting Grounds, move a counter. Always super good. I like that you don't have to sacrifice that land to do it. You can just
Yep.
kind of slowly start to.
The Mariposa military base.
Yeah, I was literally just posting that too. Yeah, you get 2 rad counters. It does enter tap, but it does literally everything that just this deck wants to do.
And draw a card for free if you have 5 rad counters, which in this deck is very easy.
Pretty
to do.
easy to achieve, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I really love the basics. I feel like they should never do not full art lands now,
There's no
especially
reason at this point.
yeah,
There really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
when they show them that they are this beautiful.
Yep.
I also love that the land. I really love the swamp. So this one I believe is in Fallout 4 when you're going to find a man who is running away, who's like in the circle of the radiated zone. Um, I believe this one is in Fallout 76. But yeah, I really love that. And then like I just love the progression of the lands and like
Mm-hmm.
the your
The lands
character.
in this one are all beautiful.
Yeah, that your character evolves in the lands. I really love the energy deck. They show them off a little bit better.
This deck has a Temple of the False Gods. It is a good card.
I don't agree.
It's a good card only for a precon and nothing else.
No, it's
I am gonna continue to say that a million times.
Ancient Tomb is busted.
It is,
Yeah, yeah.
but I would rather
Ancient
pay
Tomb is
life than have to
busted, and
have a certain amount of lands. So to be fair, Octavia, let's talk about this. Half of the games we play, you don't even have 5 lands.
well, if you think about it,
Bazinga.
half the games that I don't have 5 lands, the 5th land would be that Temple of the False Gods.
Damn.
So she technically has you there.
She got me. Yeah, I mean, you technically got me. So when you make your 5th land base, it needs to be a Temple of the False Gods. You hear it here first.
I don't hate Temple of the False Gods. Yes, there are times when it's a dead land, but I
Yeah.
think that the times that it's not, it is as good or better than an Ancient Tomb.
So I
That's
feel
fair, yeah.
that it's so when it comes to this card, because like yes, the answer is it is not a bad card at all. Like it genuinely is a decent card.
No.
I think it's the experiences you've had with this card is what determines whether or not you feel it's a good card.
I've been hosed with this card so many fucking times.
If the
That's
amount of
fair.
if you have drawn it prior to 5 lands, far more often than not, you're going to hate this card. And the reason why I'm not a fan of it personally, again, I think back to new players. If they open up this deck, they're gonna be like, "Oh, this land's so cool! I can easily get to 5 lands." If they open up 3 or 4 lands in their opening, and say they only hit 4 lands, but technically they never have that 5th. Now you have a dead land in the field.
You
And
know,
it's
in
just
this
gonna-
deck, in this deck, they're never not hitting their 5th land.
So there is that. Technically, in this deck, you will net like 39 lands.
It is so much.
That is just, and again, like so again, they
They're
have
not
a high
landfall
amount.
deck.
It's so the reason why I see it is because it's the rad counters you don't lose if you have if it's a land card.
Also, it has a bit of a landfall theme to it.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we'll go over to Chris's and takeaways.
Well, talking about lands, 4 of the 5 things I want to remove from this deck are 4 lands. They're all 4 temples. It is the Temple of Milady, Enlightenment, the Temple of the I Wish I Had 5 lands,
Okay,
and
Milady, mystery.
Mystery and Deceit. Yeah. So it's all of the. I
Yep.
seriously think that 39 lands is an aggressive. Given the fact the amount of ramp spells we have, the mana rocks, I feel that it's just the easiest thing to do with this. Like, I want to upgrade is just take out 4 lands.
Yes.
Take out 5 lands if you really want. I think 5 would be really pushed to get that point.
That's a little rough.
Like you're really on the cusp if you did 5 lands. I think 4 lands could be very easily achieved by because again, there's a good chunk of mana rocks and ramp spells in this thing that you should not be worrying about taking out the 4 lands. The reason why I took out the temples is just for speed. That's literally the only reason behind it. Is I want a player to allow themselves to get to the amount of mana they need, whether it be the 4 mana for either the Master or the Mothman. I think that if they allow themselves,
I would make the argument that you should take out Evolving Wilds.
I was considering those instead.
Temples.
Well, so I actually like those because I can get different lands in different situations. A temple is always going to be those 2 lands every single time. A Terramorphic Expanse and an Evolving Wilds can be any.
It has its pros and cons. Like you have the fact that again, I hope that one day they eventually convert all these temples into the Surveil lands. I genuinely think that is eventually the direction because these stupid temples are still rare. Give it uncommon. It doesn't have to be a common. Just make them uncommon. There's no reason for those to be rare at this point in the game.
Yeah,
and that's what I think that the temples are so overplayed. Like putting cards like Tainted Wood or a Sulfur Spring, whatever those.
Dude, I love the tainted lands. Are so good,
which is great.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that they've started to put in like the tainted, the waterlogged.
Well, Tainted Isle and Tainted Wood are both in the Mothman deck. The energy deck has 2 tainted. They all have.
Good that they are doing those now finally, as opposed to like.
And they actually finished out the cycle with these Fallout decks.
Yes,
which ones?
One that they didn't have.
Yeah, about damn time.
Oh, which one did they not have?
I had Green Map in the one.
I think in
Dog Meat. Speaking of Dog Meat,
Painlands.
And then we'll go to your ads real fast. Your first ad is going to be Mesmeric Orb.
I think the orb is just phenomenal. Mesmeric Orb, it enables the synergies within the deck itself, but it also is punishing your opponents from doing a lot of things. Where I think that really makes a player that you're on the other side going, do I want to tap all my lands turn 7 or 8? Because now you're milling 7 cards. And that, again, this is why like the Master is a secondary option, is being able to mill your opponents down is a huge thing if you're able to get the value out of those cards. With Mesmeric
Seaborn Muse, it would be another hot ad, so you can
potentially gain 8 to 10 cards per upkeep, per on tap, very easily.
The other thing about the Mesmeric Orb is every untap is its own instance, which means every single card you untap gives Mothman a counter when he hits a non-land.
I did not know that. So there you go, even better.
Every single one that's a non-land. He does each one.
So whenever it become a permanent, mill that card. So that's not like whenever you untap your permanents, you mill that many cards. No. That's separate wording than this.
If you untap 15 things, that is 15 mill triggers. That is 15 chances to get a +1/+1 counter instead of 1.
Oh, because it's 15 separate instances instead of
separate instances.
Holy shit! Thank you, Octavia.
It's incredible.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, Mesmeric Orb is just one of those cards that is just good. It really is.
And then Mind Crank. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player loses that many cards. Or mills that many cards.
It's just... I didn't want to put the combo in the deck, but I think Mind Crank is just so good. It makes a person have to block your creatures. And these creatures are pretty decently sized in this deck. Like, with Mothman's going to get very, very big pretty quickly with these cards. And if you smack in for, 10 damage, they're milling another 10, which potentially can make Mothman even bigger on top of that. Mind Crank is just one of those cards that's pretty solid.
Ooh, Mesmeric Orb's kind of expensive.
Because there's only been 1 printing, I think? Or 1 or 2?
And then we'll go to your third ad. And we have Wave Goodbye. Sorcery. Return each creature without a +1 counter to its owner's hand.
I'm just trying to find a budget Psych Rift. in a sense.
And it does the thing. So obviously, so most of your things should have +1 counters on them, and
Mhm.
things that
Yeah.
don't have +1 counters possibly distribute +1 counters, or you might want to be able to recast again, so it actually doesn't hurt you that much, anyways.
Your things without +1/+1 counters should be ETB effects.
Yeah, and that's like it allows you to understand which cards need to get the counters, which ones shouldn't get the counters. Don't go tall, make sure you go wide. Like it allows you to determine how you want to base out
Mhm.
synergies. That's
Yeah.
why one of the big things about I like cards like that, like evacuation, same thing. Like you are aetherized. You make sure you time it the right way and understand instead of your typical like Psychic. Obviously, you can do it whatever you want, but again, it's one of those things that these ones you really need to think about what you're doing.
The fifth and final takeaway would be the strength bobblehead.
It's just because it's the bobblehead.
Yep,
There's only one. I didn't think there's really any value for it. Like,
100%. If there was more than one, I feel like it would be so much better.
correct. It was the only
Yeah.
reason why.
They're great together, kind of terrible apart.
Yep. So I want to do like a mirror deck of all the bobbleheads, or like a colorless bobblehead deck or something. I want to build something around breaking these. I just don't. I'm not smart enough to
I
do
did
it.
it. Is it Token Dude? I put it in that one.
Is it token?
Yeah, Brutaclad.
Brutaclad. Yeah.
So Brutaclad, you can make you can clone your bobbleheads and make more tokens of them, and then make all your tokens into a bobblehead and get way more synergies and value out of a single bobblehead. So
Fair.
I threw that one together, and then I did Azorius Urza to make them cost less and try to build value with those because the synergies with like artifacts with Azorius also feels pretty solid.
Yeah, you could also do mono blue. Urza is special.
I was considering doing that, but I was like, just build a whole Urza.
It just makes the normal Urza deck at that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't make Urza cute.
Yeah.
Just beat face with Urza.
Face. Oh, and another one I did was DK Finder of the Lost. It is from the
Okay.
unset. Whereas whenever you roll a die, when an ETBs do open an attraction, but whenever you roll a 2, each opponent loses a life and you gain. Whenever you roll a 4, you may tap or untap target artifact or creature. Whenever you roll a 6, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand.
Okay.
I added a bunch of different synergies because like there are cards that are rolling dice in the bobblehead. So it's like, let me throw a little bit of like this is my like janky variant of the bobblehead.
Okay.
And then,
so I am working on more food decks right now too.
I mean, food, dude, you got me onto food so hard. Adding food to normal decks is crazy.
So the reason why I like food decks so much is because in Pauper Commander, 3 life is huge.
That's make or break.
Yeah, so you start at 30 life, and with all the amount of like combo decks doing ping spells, you're basically starting the game at 15 life. It's so easy to get from 30 down to 15, and giving yourself that little bit of a window changes it up so much. Like Candy Trail and Lembus, I pretty much put into almost every single deck because those little bit of tidbits that throwing that extra life and value can literally, because it can make or break, like you're saying, like it's just one of those things. I think that like people need to not realize like these and they're adding a lot of synergies like I said the Nuka Cola machine, like stuff like that. There are so many synergies with on top of just doing the clues and the treasure tokens. Food is there too. Like this is something that I've been hooked on since they introduced food for forever ago.
Yeah, to be fair, Academy Manufacturer was expensive, but only for the treasure aspect.
Correct.
And now they're really
Now
like
it's for
pushing
everything.
clues and foods. Like so, they did 2 clue decks. They're about to do 2 energy decks because they did this energy deck and then the energy deck in Modern Horizons.
I can't wait for them to finish the cycle of giving the tokens an equip ability.
That would be yeah.
Oh yeah, because you can equip your clues.
Give food your equip ability and make it +2/+0 and call it food fight. Like it needs to happen.
Oh yeah.
Equip
So Gavin
2
Verhey, if you're
2/0.
listening.
Yep, you heard it here first.
Finish the cycle. Make food.
And then we'll go to our ads. So obviously Chris went into the master route, and we are sticking with the Wise Mothman. So the first one's gonna be Piper. So I think she's very good in a clue-centered deck. Yeah, I think she's very good. Just not in this deck specifically. I think she could be better. Just do a little bit more overall.
She is better served in a different deck.
100%. Even the energy deck, I feel like she would have been better in. The second one is going to be Harold and Bob. Unfortunately, Octavia really likes this card, but I just don't think it does enough in this deck, and especially with enough ramp that it has, it doesn't quite do enough. It is a mutant, but I just feel like it doesn't really do the thing enough.
I like what it does and how it does it, but yeah, you are correct. It
Yeah.
is better in another deck.
Yep. My third takeaway is going to be the Strength Bobblehead. I don't think it does enough if you only have one. I'm sorry, I feel like I broke a record a little bit. Like, I feel like that's kind of the theme, that if it didn't focus on rads or +1 counters, then we kind of took it out. So that kind of was a thing in the precons of old, where they took the deck in two different directions, and you just kind of had to hammer it out and take it into the direction that you wanted to kind of finish it in. Fourth remove will be Recon Craft Theta. Again, I think it's very cool, very thematic. Uh, I think in the artifact deck, it would be very cool because it does everything. It makes aliens. It kind of pilots the board, protects Madison Lee, does that stuff. But in this deck, I feel like you're going to have enough creatures. You don't really need that. And then again, I think Fraying Sanity needs to take out. It is a very cool reprint, but I just don't think that you want to necessarily, in my version, want to mill yourself out more than, or mill yourself more than other players. You want to get the great things from your graveyard at the same pace as everybody else, not necessarily you want them to be more. Then we'll go to our ads. We'll go Beast Whisperer. I really feel like in any kind of a creature deck, it just kind of needs to be in there.
Any creature deck where we're doing a lot of big stompy.
Specifically casting, yeah.
This is a Simic big stompy deck. Like, it's got some black in it, but it's a Simic stompy deck.
Yeah, the second one is going to be Tasigur. So I think it's really cool with the reprint that they did from the Jurassic Park. Tasigur is a 4/5. He can be a pretty beefy beater, but again, you're going to delve for him, so you can get him down to basically 1, and then you can just mill. So then this would actually work with the Master.
This would trigger Master and Mothman.
Yep, and then again, just working with your synergy. Reanimate. You always need targets to just get your big stuff back.
Love this.
Shout out to Octavia.
I love this in every deck.
Yeah, absolutely. If this
And
has
it's a very
black,
good card, though.
and like Octavia thinks that every deck has black, it has Reanimate.
They do. I don't know why you would leave out the best color.
Not every deck needs black, Octavia.
Blasphemy.
So I think Pyre of Heroes is a really fun ad in this deck. There is a buttload of mutants that I feel like you can get some really good value with a food chain-esque kind of navigation down.
I think that would be the non-budget version. Instead of Pyre of Heroes, just add just straight food chain.
Yeah. If you can afford it, food chain. If you can't, Pyre of Heroes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just go for the full food chain.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Pyre of Heroes. If you can get both of them, that's even better.
That's
then,
even better.
Yeah, recursion. Redundancy for your pieces to do the same thing over and over is always very important. I feel like if you're gonna add one mana dork, always add 2. If you're gonna add one piece of ramp, always have 2. Never had just one counter spell, always have 2. You know what I mean? Thanks, Octavia. And our fifth but not final ad is going to be Unnatural Growth. I feel like with all of these creatures being kind of chunky to begin with, making them bigger at combat is always fun. Now, I don't think works with +1 counters. I'm pretty sure, obviously, because they're not adding counters. So you're only affecting your base power and toughnesses, but including when you're just doubling your base power and toughness, and then having 6x counters. You know what I mean?
That is not what that says. That says double your power.
Yeah, it's double power.
That
Toughness.
includes counters.
It's a straight double.
So if you have a 0/0 with 10 +1/+1 counters, it doubles to 20.
Yeah, the growth. Once you build it, it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it does better than I thought it would.
It does way better than you thought.
Yeah,
it did.
Unnatural Growth, and it's in my Mimeoplasm deck. It absolutely does work. It has never not almost won me the. I think I've won the game every time I played it.
It's a horrifying card.
Yeah, and if it hasn't won me the game, it's basically got me pummeled in the game because they thought I was going to kill them. 100%.
It is a removal magnet, but it is a win card.
Yeah, absolutely. And just overall, so fun. But yeah, so that's our deck tech. Thank you guys. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about? Anything that you wanted to talk about, either lore wise or talk about cards, or anything that you guys are excited that are coming up?
I
I'm
mean,
building the preview card that I had.
Hell yeah! Congratulations on that. But do you want to talk about that real fast?
So my card is Laughing Jespa, and I think I'm also so it's Jasper, but I call it Jespa because I love the movie Klaus, so without Santa Claus, and the
mhm.
little Nordic kid goes Jespa, Jespa, cries every time. I cry every time. So here's my text. So it is a lizard rogue. So the biggest thing that about the bike commander itself is they have no longer had the Viashino creature type anymore now. It is
Really, is it
only
gone?
lizards. It's 100%
Oh,
gone. It's now going to be fully errated to that. You got to keep an eye out on that itself. So I didn't realize that till like way deeper into it. So I thought that was really awesome. I'm stoked about this card because like people actually think it's pretty insanely good.
it's a good card.
Like
And if it erratas the Viashino to actually be lizards to make
lizard,
Viashino deck
yeah.
viable.
The reason why I think it's pretty cool is the first half is creatures you control are mercenaries in addition to their creature types. Kind of neat. So it's like you can basically steal your opponent's creatures kind of deck of itself.
What also
Uh,
makes all of your creatures now outlaws.
So
Yeah.
the reason why it's pretty cool is beginning of your upkeep, exile top X cards of your target opponent's library, or X the number of outlaws you control, which can be quite a few. Don't get me wrong.
Oh
Until
yeah.
on the turn, you may cast spells, not a spell, it's spells, so it's plural. From
Cast
among
as
them
many.
using mana of any type. So like it makes it so you can cast literally anything. So it doesn't
Yep.
matter what color it is anymore because now you can cast them for whatever color you want. You can get multiple things. You can literally have one outlaw, and that's still a free card. And there's so many things that are in Rakdos to take off of your opponent's top of the library, put things into exile, cast things from the top. Like there are a lot of synergies already built into this strategy. And
Mm-hmm.
now this is just like the ceiling of I'm gonna basically get a bunch of things, a bunch of like outlaws, and just do really well with it. So I threw together like a pseudo budget style one right now. Where I'm still doing a little bit of testing. I want to build it in paper. Like that's what I want to do.
Mhm.
Just because I kind of have. I even if it was a bad card, I would still need to do it.
Of course.
I think it's even better because it's a 3 mana drop, 1 Rakdos, so it's super easy to cast. It's a 4/3 body, so even on its own, it's a pretty decent body. And it only like there's no like evasion or that, but it's just a good subtext of line. Like it does pretty solid stuff. So I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be a good option to just take stuff from your opponents and have fun with it. You know.
Absolutely.
And then we also have one more final plug. Octavia, this one's gonna be for you.
Yeah, Command Fest Dallas is April 19th to the 21st. I'll be in Dallas. I'll be there. Come check it out. There are tickets available.
The lineup of creators is absolutely
It's
insane.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people there.
So if you want to come say hey, meet the Grim Tutors or Brouhaha, Beth, Queen of
Bobby
Cardboard.
Christine, Beth
Yeah,
is going to be
so
there.
many great people. So many
Uh,
great people.
Jim Davis. Like, it's
Octavia.
me.
Yeah. In a cowboy hat, pink one.
Ready for hugs.
Yeah, Oblivion convinced her older that she's gonna bring a cowboy hat for her.
Yeah, I heard that's happening.
Yep, that is absolutely happening. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much. So after this post, we will make a giant thread tagging all of the providers of this amazing giveaway. Shout out to Kuro, Chris from One More Game, Peachy Pop Cosplay, Luke Dubs MTG, Hobbs from MTG Better Days, Firefly Toys and Games for giving us the deck box, Chris Marsh from Something Crafty for doing the 3D prints, Foxy's Proxies for giving us tokens, Jank Mats for giving us custom play mats. I will make a thread, so you will need to like and follow everybody in this. So there's going to be 2 posts, one on Instagram, one's on Twitter. So I will pick 2 winners from Instagram and 2 winners from Twitter. So yeah, you just gotta like all of those and make sure to like those videos on YouTube and repost those. And then that's all you gotta do to win. So like, follow, share, do all those normal things. Repost all 4 videos, and then after that, you are qualified to win a deck. So yeah, you'll get some good stuff. Just want to say I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys again. Good night.
Night.